Hey everyone, Jordan here. Today we're going to be looking at another product from ASRock. It's been a little while since I looked at anything from them other than like the NZXT boards, as they do make those, but I'm looking forward to checking out something from them. This is the Z790 Nova Wi-Fi. We looked at the Z690 Riptide quite a while back, but this is one of their higher end boards, but for the features that it offers is actually coming in at what I think is a fairly reasonable $299. I was actually writing up the specs for this video and going through all the things of it, and it's like this should be way more expensive than it is, so I think we're going to be very pleasantly surprised. So there's the back of the board if you want to have a little pause and a quick read, but I will of course cover the key facts as we go throughout. So of course, supporting 12th, 13th and 14th gen, I know there's a little bit of an issue with that microcode for the higher end CPUs, but I'm sure by the time you would go to actually buy one of these there will be a new BIOS available, so not too much to worry about. So inside the box, of course, the motherboard itself, the classic ASRock anti-static, and then we've also got some nice foam, but let's look underneath first at our accessories. And then after we have got a nice thick manual, which I do like to see. Some companies have started to take out manuals because obviously they use a lot of paper, but I think this is one thing that's really handy to have a hard copy of. Inside here we have got some little bits and bobs. So we've got a ASRock Phantom Gaming logo, a couple of M.2 standoffs, and then going through we've got another standoff there, and then some screws in the back. They've got a little bit of thread lock on those as well. In the other side we've got a lot of things going on. There's another M.2 screw. We have got some temperature probe points if you want to do maybe some overclocking and keep the eye on the temperatures. We have got a support for a graphics card, another standoff and some more screws there. Phantom Gaming keycap. There's some SATA cables, one of which is right angled. There's 2 packs of those. Then we have got some RGB extensions, so that's a single 5V addressable to 3 5V addressable. And then we have got our antennas for our Wi-Fi. It does support Wi-Fi 7. You've also got Bluetooth 5.3. So now out of the box, it was zip tied in, just a little bit of extra security, I suppose, which is always a good thing for shipping. But you can see a very beefy motherboard. Visually looks very nice. I've got a lot of pills, but I'll leave those for when I use this in the build. I'll talk more about that at the end. Looking at the VRMs quickly though, this has got a 20+1+1 power phase. You have got an 8-layer PCB. You've also got the 20K long-lasting black caps. So for high durability, you can see all those chokes and things very well covered by that VRM. Let's get a little top-down view. Some very chunky aluminium or aluminum around those VRMs. There's a little illuminated section as well that will light up. You can use their software to link everything together as well. So let's start at the top left like we usually do. We've got 2 8-pin EPS connectors. We've got 3 4-pin headers to begin. Then we've got our first 2 addressable 5V RGB connectors. We have the Dr. Moss readout for all your post LEDs. Very handy thing to have, costs just a few cents to implement onto a board, and even some of their more affordable, cheaper boards do have this as well. So good job ASRock, certainly do continue to put those on boards because they are very handy. We've got a 24-pin full power USB 3.2 Gen 2x2, so 20 gigabits per second USB Type-C port. We've got another 4-pin power there. Then we've got a USB 3.2 Gen 1. This is also another one on the right angle, so you've got nice lot of I/O options for your front of the case. We've got 4 6-gig SATA ports on the right angle, and there's also a little trusted platform module connector and also a debug. The front panel is in the bottom right hand corner. We've then got a power and a reset button. Love to see these. This is already making me think this is going to be a great test bench motherboard just from these buttons on there. We've got our sensor connect points if you're going to use those for some high end overclocking. Then we've got 2 more 4-pin headers, and then also 2 USB 2 connectors, great for anything like hubs or AIO screens. We've got our third 5V addressable RGB connector. We've also got a standard 12V. There's a connector for a Thunderbolt add-in card. We've got another 4-pin fan connector, and then there's our HD audio front panel on the bottom left. Then just to the left of the M.2 slot, there's another 4-pin header connector. So that's a total of 8 4-pin connectors on this board. Quickly turning it over, we have got a really nice back plate. I want to just take that peel off to show you. So taking that off, you can now see all that nice brushed aluminium, and then the Nova. It's a shame you won't be able to see that because I do like the colours that are on that Nova logo. So going back up to the socket, like I mentioned, 12th, 13th and 14th gen support. And then we have got on the right support for up to 256 gigabytes of DDR5 up to 8000 megahertz. That's on XMP. You can push it, of course, manually if you want to. So let's now go down to our expansion and storage slots. So our first NVMe slot, this is the Gen 5 supporting slot. There's a little quick release to take off that heatsink. Not quite as thick of a heatsink as I've seen on some boards, but looks enough to do the job. Below that NVMe slot, we've actually got a Gen 5 PCIe lane as well. Now, the reason I mention these together is the top 2 are on the CPU, the rest are on the chipset. But another reason I wanted to mention it is that this is a £300 board that supports Gen 5 NVMe and PCIe. Generally you'll get PCIe for this kind of price, but if you want an NVMe that supports Gen 5, you're going to be paying a lot more. For example, the closest Asus board is £450 at the time of filming this that supports both. This is 300, so this was one of the big things that made me think this is going to be a fantastic price to performance board. Going a little bit further down, we have got another PCIe lane. This is a PCI Gen 4 X16 slot, again armoured, and then you will have a little one down below if you want to use anything like a sound card or a capture card. This is a PCIe 3 lane and then an X1 slot. Now let's take off the armour to show the additional PCIe slots. So that's all the screws undone. Taking off this top cover, we have got an additional 2 thermal pads on the back and then 2 more slots up to 80mm drives, Gen 4 speeds again. Then there's another one below. If we remove this, we can support another 2 80mm drives. But wait, there's more. On the right hand side you see this little one that goes vertically. You take that off and there's another slot for another 80mm drive. So you can do a total of 6 NVMe's on this board, 1 at Gen 5 and then 5 at Gen 4. Absolutely stacked. Put all those covered to the side for now. I want to look at the rear I/O, but there's a little stripped down look at the board if you're wondering. All of those have got quick releases on as well, so makes installing very easy. So let's go to the rear I/O. First of all, we've got a clear CMOS button on the top left, very handy button. There's a DisplayPort 1.4 and then an HDMI 2.1. The black USB ports, these are USB 2. The purpley ones and then the yellow ones, the documentation says that these are USB 3.2 Gen 2, so 10 gigabits per second. But you've also got these light blue ones that are listed as 10 on the board, so I'm going to say that these are 3.2 Gen 1, and then your lighter blue ones are USB 3.2 Gen 2, so 10 gigabits. We've also got a Type C, so USB 3.2 Gen 2x2, 2.5 gig LAN. We've also got a Wi-Fi antenna, so the Wi-Fi 7, a headphone, microphone, and an SP diff. So that was a look around the ASRock Z790 Nova Wi-Fi. Very impressed with this board. I think ASRock have certainly been on the up over the last few years. They've been really cranking out some nice stuff, especially the NZXT motherboards. They're really good, so I've had no problems with those. And yeah, very impressed with this one. I think you can see why I said it's probably one of the best bang for buck boards with the features that it offers. And if you compare it to something like an Asus board, even that PCIe Gen 5 NVMe, that's something you're going to pay over £400 for. So to see it on this board is fantastic. Let me know what you think about it. Leave your thoughts in the comments, any other questions you've got as well, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. I'll leave the links for this in the description if you want to pick one up. Let me know what you want to see it used in. We have got some potential options of what cards we can put and stuff with it, and CPUs of course. We'll get that BIOS updated as soon as possible though. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Get subscribed and ding the bell so you don't miss the future videos with this, and I'll see you all in the next one.